Hello. I want to do something special with everybody for my top 12 albums of 2011 list, and something a little bit different than I have done in the past. So we are, at the moment, in the old Prague, Nebraska, Prague Public High School building, which has been abandoned for about 6 years or so, I think. I'm not exactly positive on that. Anyway, a member of my family owns this building. It's a 3-story building, awesome. I thought I'd come here to do my list. Why? Well, it might be silly. You're right. Is there mold everywhere? Yes, there is. Is it very cold in here? Yes, it is. It's very cold. In fact, it's probably 50 degrees or so. I'm surprised you can't see my breath. But anyway, I wanted to come here to do this in this particular room, because this room is the music room where I had music class growing up. There were some renovations done to it since I was in elementary school and even in high school, but you know, it is what it is. There's all sorts of junk and stuff around. As I said, the building has been abandoned for a while. So amidst all the Mary Poppins sheet music, I'm going to sit down and make my list. Oh, I forgot. I need pencil and paper. Where do you think I can find some pencils? Got one. Think we can get it up there? Yeah! Heck yeah! Can I get it down though? Yeah. So this is the one we're going to use. Got a nice tip. And we got, just take a random sheet of paper, whatever this is, some sort of quiz sheet. Jug and tenor sacks, all right. Got a piece of paper, got my pencil. Now, we are going to make a list. As I said, this is quite a bit different from my other lists because I've been making, for the last decade or so, I've been making my top 12 albums of the year list. And back in 2011, I made my list. However, when I made the video for it to post to YouTube, it got copyright strike on it, and taken off YouTube. So I never ended up posting it anywhere. And I only had one copy of the video file saved, and it was on a hard drive that recently crashed. So now I need to remake my list from 2011. So I've got my very old, degraded table here, corroded table. A pop that's probably just about as old, Dr. Pepper. And I got a sack full of all the CDs that I could find that I own from 2011. Now, I went through all my CDs, which you can see I have quite a few. I went through all my CDs on my shelves and found all of the CDs from 2011 that I own. And ended up with these 2 stacks here. Now, as I was going through the CDs, as I was going through all my CDs looking for the ones with 2011 as the year in which they were released, I didn't really think too much about the order of my list or anything like that. All I know is that there are some of my absolute favorite albums of all time in these stacks of CDs here. So this is going to be very, very hard. Normally when I do one of these lists, I have the year to think about it, and as stuff comes out, I'll think about, should this go on my list of top 12? Should this, is it just decent? Or do I regret even buying it? Well, I obviously bought a lot of CDs in 2011, and as I mentioned, I know that there's some fantastic ones in here. So, totally unedited. My plan is not to edit this at all, so I apologize if it's absolutely terrible to watch. I'm going to sit here. I don't know how much battery I have on my camcorder, but it's recording and I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to sit here and try to figure out my list of top 12 albums of 2011. And you're going to be along for the ride, as long as assuming I post this at some point. So let's get into it. So first of all, here's a list of the CDs that we have. Imaginarum by Nightwish. The Path of Totality, Korn. Oceanic by M.L. Bowles. Lights by Ellie Goulding. Oh my goodness. Sounds of a Playground Fading by In Flames. Both Ways Open Jaws by The Dew, very cool band from Sweden. Kaiser's Orchestra, Violetta Violetta Trilogy, Volume 1. Oh goodness. The Pierces, You and I. VNV Nation, Automatic. Tanzomat by And One. Evanescence, what is this album called? Oh, I think it's their self-titled album. Evanescence by Evanescence. 20 Odd Years, Buck 65, rapper from Canada. El Camino by the Black Keys. Homewrecker, Little Hurricane. The Fight of Our Lives, Straight Line Stitch. Devil's Music by the Teddy Bears. Awolnation's debut album. Something to Die For, The Sounds. Relentless Reckless Forever, Children of Bodom. The Sucker Punch soundtrack. Break From This World, I believe that's what it's called. Break From This World by Globus. Siberia, Lights. Happiness, Hurts. The Unforgiving, Within Temptation. Alison Krauss and the Union Station, Paper Airplane. I think this is her last album that they've released, at least as Alison Krauss and the Union Station. Quite a good album. And then the Color Spectrum, the complete collection, from The Deer Hunter. Okay. I'm going to move you guys closer. Okay. So, as I mentioned, we've got all sorts of interesting things here. I'm going to go through and we're going to eliminate some of these. So, all of these albums are really good. Here, hold on. All of these albums are really good. Maybe with the exception of a few of them, I would actually say that they're all actually great. There's a few of them that I got that were sort of, I was taking a chance on them, and they didn't really live up to the expectations that I had. And so I'm going to go through and eliminate some of those, and then some of the ones that I know just won't make it to my list of top 12. So, Alison Krauss sitting right here in the Union Station. This is a great album, and I love the songs that Dan Tyminski sings on this, but it's out. Relentless Reckless Forever by Children of Bodom. Not the best Children of Bodom album. Their best albums came significantly before this. About a decade before this, actually, almost. So that one's out. Straight Line Stitch, a cool metal band with a female vocalist that just absolutely is awesome. Really good metal album, but out. Little Hurricane, they're a cool band. If you've never heard of them, I recommend checking them out. They're a sort of acoustic folk duo. They use electric guitar and stuff as well, though. Cool band, kind of like Shovels and Rope. Buck 65, this is an awesome album, and it kind of hurts me to throw this one out right away, but it's not top 12 albums of the year material. Very good, though. One of Buck 65's best albums, in my opinion. Great production. Evanescence. This is the second, well, Evanescence at this point has only 3 full albums out. And this is their most recent one that's been out, other than their Synthesis album that came out, which is kind of a treading of all their 3 previous albums. But I love Evanescence. I'm not one of those Evanescence haters. And this is just not their strongest album, and there's other music on that's going to be on my top 12 of this year that is similar to this that's better. Oh boy, we're keeping quite a few of these. The Dew, cool Swedish band. Amazing album. This album possibly is the most well-produced album of the year. Sounds incredible, but not going to make the cut. Ellie Goulding. I love Ellie Goulding. I feels like I'm throwing away all the pop music, and I guess I kind of am, but it's just a lot of good metal, I guess, that came out in 2011. Ellie Goulding's great, though, and the song Lights that's on here, which I'm sure you guys have all heard, one of my favorite pop songs of all time, maybe even my favorite pop song of all time. Great stuff, but not going to make the list. Korn, Path of Totality. Wish this could be on this list, but there's just other better things that are going to be on the list. This is probably my favorite Korn album. This is the album that everyone hates the most because every song is Korn featuring like a dubstep artist. And so there's all sorts of really, really cool electronic sounds on this album. Really neat beats and stuff, which is kind of silly if you think about Korn, although their music was very much influenced by hip-hop in the 90s and the early 2000s. So not that surprising that they would mix different genres of music. But this album is really special and very cool. It's one of the most unique sounding heavy albums that I think's ever been recorded. So, but it's got to go. And then Nightwish got to stay. So these albums are gone. I'm going to throw them on the floor. Let's move the camera. Tilt it up a little so that you can see my face and the fact that I am being genuine with my comments here. My pop is gone, so no sense in keeping the place really clean, is there? So let's address an elephant in the room right away. Hold on, my leg is stuck. Okay. This album, The Deer Hunter. I don't know if I can include this or not, because what this is, I'll show you. What this is a set, autographed actually as well. This is a set of EPs that they made for the different colors on the color spectrum. So you can see black, red, orange, it's hard for me to read upside down, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, white. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 EPs. Each one with, how many songs are on there? Let me check. It's been a while since I listened to this. I want to say that it was 3, 4. Yes, 4. Yes. So for each of those colors that I mentioned, there's 4 songs. So yeah, that's right. So I think, unless there's, maybe it's possible that white and black had more. Nope, 4, 4, 4. So this is a series of EPs. And generally, when, move you back a little. Generally, I would not include an EP in my list of top 12 albums. I have disqualified albums for being EPs in the past. Now, this is a giant set of music. Definitely more than you could fit onto one 80-minute CD. And I really do like this. It's 4 discs, and each disc has 12 songs on it, I think, right? There's 3, yeah. So, just by sheer volume, this deserves to be on the list. Not to mention that the album is incredible. I like the Deer Hunter a lot. They're not my favorite band, but some of this music is really good, though. I like some of the songs have a string section on them. Some of them are heavier. It is one package. So I'm including it. I'm going to include it in the list if it makes it. It might not, but I'm going to make it eligible. I'm not disqualifying it. This is going to be very difficult. Okay. Nightwish Imaginarum, one of my favorite Nightwish albums. Nightwish, one of my favorite metal bands. In my opinion, the greatest symphonic metal band of all time. Emma Bulls. This is my favorite Emma Bulls album. And it's the deluxe edition. A lot of the albums I have are deluxe editions. So this Nightwish comes with a bonus instrumental album. This Emma Bulls album, this is a metal band, a really great metal band. They have pop influences. And this album is the deluxe edition of this. And it has 17 songs on it, so it's very full. It has 14 regular tracks. Like the regular version of the album has 14 tracks, and every song is a real song with the exception of the first track, which is an intro to the album. But the rest of them are all full songs. I love all of them, all of the songs. There's a really cool song on here called Battle Royal, which I think, I'm pretty sure that the song is about Battle Royale, the book / movie about the Japanese school kids that are on the island they have to take each other out until there's only one left. I love this album. It has one of my favorite, maybe even my favorite ballad of all time, Dancing on the Moon, is the last track of this. And then after that there's 2 acoustic songs and then a sort of a cover. I think it's a cover. This is a fantastic album. Then we have In Flames, Sounds of a Playground Fading. And Son of a Gun, this is one of my favorite In Flames albums. The production on it is fantastic. I think it's their most well-produced heavy album. I think that it has some of their strongest songs they've ever written on it. I think Sounds of a Playground Fading, the first track on the album, is fantastic. I think Deliver Us, which is the single from this album, is great. Where the Dead Ships Dwell is great. Enter Tragedy. Oh, man. Violetta, Violetta, Volume 1 from Kaiser's Orchestra. Now this is tough because if I was making this list in 2011, which I don't really recall making my list in 2011, and to be honest, I don't even know for sure that I did. I know that I remember making sort of a mixtape. I always make every year a mixtape for myself of a CD of the top 12 songs. And I remember putting some of these albums on a CD, but I don't really recall doing it for this particular project. But I know the reason I bring that up now is because in 2011, this would have been on my list. Had I known about it in 2011, I think I discovered Kaiser's Orchestra around that time. But I think it was a little later than that, maybe 2012 possibly. And this is the first album in a trilogy of albums, Violetta, Violetta Volume 1, 2, and 3. And Violetta, Violetta Volume 3 is one of my favorite albums of all time. And this one is really good, but I think the second, Volume 2, is better. Okay, so this one is going to go in the questionable pile. The Pierces, this is going into the questionable pile. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. VNV Nation, I think that might be their best album. And One. Oh, such a great band, and this is such a good album. But there's a few tracks on it that I don't particularly care for. Questionable pile. Black Keys, Gotta Stay. This, dang it. I think in a normal year, if I was doing this, for me, one of the reasons that this is not normal, I guess I should say, is because I've had years with each of these albums, and I have listened to them a lot. I listen to music all the time, and I have listened to each of these albums, multiple times, while driving, while laying in bed with headphones, which is my favorite way to listen to music, through fantastic speakers. So I'm very familiar with all of this music, and I love all of it. I mean, and this Teddy Bears album, I like to have albums on my lists for each of the years that kind of were surprising albums to me. And this album is so good. The Teddy Bears used to be like a sort of a punk metal band from Sweden, and they decided that they were going to make pop music. So they made an album, and they got a bunch of famous people to be on it, and it was great. And then a couple years later, they released this album, which in my opinion is way better than their first album, which I think is called Soft Machine. This album has awesome beats, awesome vocals. Every song has like a different vocalist, which I love that kind of stuff. I think because of the strength of everything, well, questionable pile. Awolnation, their debut album. I love this album. Love it, love it. Questionable pile. The Sounds. This was my first The Sounds album after I discovered who they were. I was working at a record store at the time, or a store that sold records, Hastings Entertainment, actually, in Fremont, Nebraska, and this was one of the first albums that I remember special ordering, I think, from there, and I love this album. Almost all the songs on it are great, but it's not my favorite The Sounds album. Questionable pile. Sucker Punch soundtrack, one of my favorite movies, and I know, you can judge me all you want on there. My top 4 favorite movies are, in order, O Brother Where Art Thou, Ocean's 11, Man from U.N.C.L.E., and Sucker Punch. So, I love this movie, and I think that one of the reasons I love the movie so much is the soundtrack. It was originally supposed to be a musical, if you're not aware, which is why a lot of the songs were sung by, a lot of the tracks on this are sung by the actors who are in it. Emily Browning sings the first track, Sweet Dreams Are Made of This, which is a cool cover version with this giant orchestral cover version of the song. There's a lot of cool stuff on here. I'm eliminating it. It's great though, but I'm eliminating it. Okay, so these are the questionable. Let's take a look at the ones that I have that are in. We'll make color spectrum questionable as well. Globus, gotta be in it. Probably in the top 3. Black Keys, not my favorite Black Keys album. Deserves to be there though. Lights, Siberia, Hurts, Happiness, The Unforgiven, let me move you guys. Sorry. So, 9 albums that I think all deserve to be in the top 10. I'm going to make Black Keys questionable. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that I believe deserve to be on the list. And it's tough because we have 1, 2 metal bands, 2 symphonic metal bands, 1 symphonic metal album without the metal. That's what makes this album so special. The Envy Nation is synthwave, EBM music. Hertz is pop music, electronic pop music. And Lights is electronic pop music. But this Siberia album, what makes it special is that it is distorted. It was one of the first distorted electronic albums I'd ever heard. Okay. 8 albums. Whoops. 8 albums that I think deserve to be on the list. That means we've got 4 spots to fill. Four spots. So knowing that there are only 4 spots, this is very tough. I'm gonna move you guys back some. Do that. There we go. Okay. I'm eliminating Violetta, Kaiser's Orchestra, Violetta, Volume 1. I'm eliminating Teddy Bears. I'm eliminating the Pierces, even though I love this album. Sisters, 2 sisters, who make incredible sort of throwback music, kind of sounds like the Mamas and the Papas with their harmonies. Incredible songwriters, and one of my favorite songs of theirs, The Good Samaritan, is on this. It reminds me a lot of Nancy Sinatra's Kiss, what is it? Bang Bang, My Baby Shot Me Down. But their second album is better than this, and I know I shouldn't judge this on that because this is from the year 2011, and is it better than some of the other stuff on my list? But I'm going to eliminate it. Which means we have 5 albums left, and I need to eliminate 1. The Deer Hunter is still here because I have to consider the color spectrum a... Gosh, I just don't know, because there are some songs on the color spectrum that I find boring. But because there's so many songs on it total, I feel like it's definitely worth it. And you could take my favorite 12 songs and make one fantastic album. And so the rest of it is all just good. You know, it's just bonus material. Do I think that this album is better than any of these albums? Is what I'm trying to decide. I do. I think it's better than the Sounds, Something to Die For. So this Sounds, Something to Die For is eliminated. This album is fantastic, as are their other albums, but this album is eliminated. Okay. That means we got our 12. I'm going to stop the recording for a second to see how much time I got left and possibly do a bit of a reset. Okay, everybody. I readjusted. Got about 15 minutes of footage left. I'm on the other side of the room. Back there was where I was sitting before. I don't know how much you can see. I wrote down my list of the CDs that I got left so that I can number. And so now it's time to figure this out. We have, in the top 12, The Deer Hunter, Color Spectrum, Tanzomat, And One, Awolnation, The Black Keys, El Camino, Lights, Siberia, Automatic, VNV Nation, Globus, Break From This World, Ammo Bulls, Oceanic, The Unforgiving, Within Temptation, Happiness Hurts, In Flames, Sounds of Playground Fading, and Imaginarum by Nightwish. So of these albums, are there songs that I don't like on any of these albums? Yes, there are a few. The Black Keys has a few songs on it that I don't particularly care for. The last two tracks. Lights, Siberia has a few on it that maybe aren't my favorites that she's ever written. VNV Nation albums. It's a good album, but there's stuff on it that is not my favorite. Even the Globus album. In Flames has a few that I don't particularly care for. Nightwish, at the time, I would have said that I don't think, in 2011, I wouldn't have liked the Nightwish album as much as I do now. Because I went through and listened to it a lot in 2014 or so, which was when I got really super hard into other bands from the symphonic metal genre. And not much of it stacked up to this album. I think that this Nightwish album, Imaginarum, isn't produced the best. I think it's maybe the flattest sounding. The lows aren't very rich and deep. Their album before this, which this was their second album with, what's the lady's name, Olsen? Their second singer after Tara Turunen left. Annette Olsen became their new singer, and this is their second album with her. And I think that overall the album is much better, but I think that their album before this, their first album with Annette, which is called Dark Passion Play, that album is mixed better. And the more I listen to that album, the more I enjoy it. I've listened to it many times. Whereas I think that I've gotten everything out of this album that I can. I mean, I do still enjoy listening to it. And I think that Awolnation this album is fantastic. I think that it's a special album because I loved Under the Influence of Giants, and Aaron Bruno, I think is the guy's name, who left that band and then joined Red Bull Records to make this album. This is definitely the best Awolnation album. And at the time, it really blew my socks off how good it was. Okay, so what are the top three? To me. Globus is in the top three. Within Temptation, Unforgiving is in the top three. Hurts, Happiness is in the top three. Emil Bulls is in the top four. And then it's very hard from there. I would say from there, it should be Nightwish, and Broken, and One. There's something about the color spectrum that rubs me the wrong way, that it's number 12. And then next will be the Black Keys, VNV Nation, Awolnation, Lights in Flames. So number 12, number 11. No, number 12, number 11, number 10. 9, number 8, number 7. Oh no. Yeah. Having trouble counting. 7. We'll do top 3 in a second. And 1 Tanzomat, Nightwish, Emil Bowles. Which one is the best of these 3 albums? Gosh, that is so tough. Which one is the best? Here's another thing. I think that an album made with strings and a choir elevates it above an album that doesn't have those elements if they're both relatively equal sonically. So I would say but the And One album, the songs are so good. But there's 3 songs on it that I really don't care for that much. And of the 12 tracks, that's a fourth of the album, or a third of the album. A fourth of the album, I guess. Okay. Top 3. Top 3. Three of my favorite albums of all time. The Unforgiving by Within Temptation, one of my favorite albums of all time. Also, Globus, Break From This World, one of my favorite albums of all time. Maybe the most impressive album I've ever heard in my life, to be honest. Hurts, fantastic. Happiness. However, I think their second album is actually better than this, which is their first album. The problem is, there are songs on the Globus album that I don't particularly care for. And that's the same, can't be said for Within Temptation. I think The Unforgiving is solid all the way through. But there are songs, multiple songs, on Break From This World from Globus that can make me literally cry every time that I hear them. If you're not familiar with what Globus is, not to go into a long story, a company in Europe, I believe, who had made specialized in trailer music, called Immediate Music, record label, made basically music for trailers and things, and you'd heard their stuff in lots of movie trailers and whatnot. They gave some money to a guy and told him to use some of their material and make a pop album with orchestral elements. And he did. And that was their first album called Epicon. And that album is good. It's great. And then they did a second album, and it's their last album as far as I know, here, 10 years after that album came out. And it's amazing. It has orchestral elements, some rock elements. All the songs have drums. There's one song in the middle called Emanuela, I think. Manuela, that is just classic acoustic guitar and a guy singing, sort of like Spanish flamenco stuff. It's amazing. Several songs that are just amazing. And then there's a song at the end about cancer that's just incredible. But it's not 100%. The other album is 100%. But I'm having trouble because the highs of Break From This World by Globus are higher than maybe the highs of any album I've ever heard. Hello. I was going to go record the list up on the roof of the building, but I chickened out. So instead, we're here in the gym, the old gym. And you get to hear me shout the top 12 albums of 2011, the list we just figured out, in here. So here we go. Number 12, The Color Spectrum by Deer Hunter. Number 11, El Camino by the Black Keys. Number 10, Automatic by VNV Nation. Number 9, the self-titled debut album from Awolnation. Number 8, Siberia by Lights. Number 7, Sounds of a Playground Fading by In Flames. Number 6, Tanzonat by And One. Okay, top 5. Number 5, Oceanic by Emil Bulls. Number 4, The Imaginarum by Nightwish. Okay, top 3. These ones were really hard. Number 3, Happiness by Hertz. Number 2, The Unforgiving by Within Temptation. And the number 1 album, according to me, in 2020 of 2011 is Break From This World by Globus. So there you have it! Woo! We did it! Woo! Yeah! We did it! Woo! Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for being with me while I created this list. I hope you appreciated it. It was fun for me. And I want to say thank you very much for watching my top 12 albums of the decade in the future. Something for you to look forward to. So, for now, so long. Bye.